Now, tension remains high amid fears that the Israel-Gaza conflict could expand the violence that we have seen even further all across the Middle East. Today, Iran defending what it called targeted strikes on Monday. Ballistic missiles struck what Iran says was a spy base for Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad, that's in Iraq, as well as anti-Iran terror groups in Syria. Both the U.S. and the United Nations have condemned those strikes. Joining me now is CNN military analyst, retired Army Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. General Hertling, thank you so much for being with us. Throughout the past few months, in the violence that we have seen beyond just Gaza, we have seen Iran's hand really everywhere when it comes to Hamas, of course, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and then those proxies in Iraq and Syria as well. But Iran themselves, General, they haven't fired any missiles until now. So what does that signal to you? What do you think it could lead to?
Yeah, it's a couple of things, Boris, and it's fascinating to watch Iran ramp this up right after the attack on the Houthis in Yemen. I think they've seen one of their proxy groups get a kinetic strike against them. I was going to use the term whacked. That's sometimes what we in the military use. But when the Houthis had this strike against them, it was a significant one. 100 munitions, 60 targets, 13 different locations throughout Yemen. I think it put the Houthis back on their heels quite a bit. Iran being the leader of this proxy group, even though the Houthis are somewhat independent, they're taking some of their orders from Iran, realized they had to get back into the fray. A combination of that, the strike inside of Iran by ISIS, the attack by the United States against the Iranian-backed proxies inside of Iraq, multiple targeting in Syria and Lebanon and in Iraq by both Israel and the United States. The fact that Iran then reacted by sending a missile into their neighbors' territory, into Iraq, and striking into Erbil, caused some tension. And what I mean by that is, having spent a significant amount of time in northern Iraq, I know that there is contest between the Kurdish sections and the Iraqi sections. So by striking into Erbil, they're riling up the Kurds, creating some tension both from a military and an economic perspective. It's a huge oil-growing region and an independent, semi-autonomous region by Kurdistan. So it's only increasing the complexity, and I think it's a signal by Iran that they want to play in this fight, and they're not going to let their proxies continue to be struck.
In general, just until a few days ago, we hadn't seen this fighting between the U.S.-led coalition and the Houthis. Today, we have the third round of strikes by the U.S. Against Houthi rebels. They targeted anti-ship ballistic missiles. We also saw that an operation seized weapons made by Iran that were on a boat heading to Yemen. Do you expect this back and forth, this tit for tat, to continue for some time?
I do, Alex. And it's interesting, the timelines for the attacks today by the U.S. forces and the Houthis. At 1:45 this morning, Sana'a time in Yemen, the United States independently took action against what they saw was 4 anti-ballistic missiles inside of Yemen, looking like they were being prepared to fire. So the preventative measure of striking those targets first before they could be used against shipping is part of the deterrence method. Then later this afternoon, Sana'a time, the Houthis fired one missile at a cargo ship and struck it. So I think they're trying to show that they haven't been completely depleted by the U.S. strikes, but they are still active in the area, and they will still attempt to interrupt shipping in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. So, yeah, this is getting more and more complex by the day. A couple of months ago, I said there was a 10% chance of this war expanding into a regional conflict. My percentages are a little bit higher today than they were back in October.
Yeah, and we also saw the Israeli military launching air and artillery strikes against Hezbollah up in Lebanon. General Mark Hertling, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your thoughts today. Appreciate it.